first, Sandy, or second?
We could maybe, actually what I'd like to do is maybe introduce yourself and then just let me know maybe, because we're going to talk about LinkedIn and then I can know what your ideal audience is because we're actually going to show some live LinkedIn searching and, utilizing the tool for building relationships. So that would be the question. Maybe if you have one tech question, maybe one area, it doesn't have to be LinkedIn that you might have a struggle with, and then maybe who your ideal client prospect is.
So,
do you have anything, Jeanette, first?
Let me just see. Edith, do you have a question that you came here with?
You're on mute, Matt.
Edith, how about Sophia?
Hi there. Well, like I believe it was Sandy who said, formerly in corporate, I spent 30 plus years traveling internationally and dealing with all kinds of stuff at IBM and similar companies. And about a year and a half, I suffered from burnout pretty hardcore, and I realized there was not a lot of support. And as I looked back throughout my career, I realized there were a lot of young managers, young leaders, new leaders, leaders of all flavors that just had nowhere to go for support. And so I focused on executive coaching primarily, although I will also assist. You can't, pull somebody out of their personal and their professional. They kind of come as a package, right? So although I do support, personal coaching, I primarily focus on the corporate stuff, on the executive stuff. Okay. In terms of my questions, because I am new to entrepreneurship and new to coaching somewhat, I've been coaching now pretty regularly for the past year and a half, but I still consider myself as new. I am just a sponge to learn ways that I can more effectively, help my clients, reach my clients, tell them who I am and how I can help them, kind of share my story so that they understand I understand. Because when you've been through it painfully and kind of stumbled your way through it, you can help others accelerate and maybe not stumble through some of the same issues and length of time to resolve. So anyway, that's really my goal, is just I am a sponge right now to learn how to more effectively reach and help my coaching clients.
Okay, perfect.
And that's probably a question that every coach has.
How do you get to reach and touch them?
And by the way, without 1,000 subscriptions to all these tools that you may or may not use, which I've seen these tools be advertised, I get all sorts of emails, and I'm thinking to myself, Lord, this is absolutely insane. I'm sure I need some, but it's the which ones will help me the most.
Yep, exactly. And that's why I'm here to help kind of navigate some of that world a little bit in the time that we have.
I just want to say about how Sandy works, which was why I invited her to this call, is because you can hire her to do any kind of tech work you need, but you can also just, if you have a tech question, you can call her up and ask her the tech question and she'll answer. And you just pay her for her time. And you can tell us more about that later, Sandy. But anyway, that's what I always needed when I was starting out. I had to become technical because there wasn't anybody like that.
Yeah, and unfortunately for me, I've dealt with very large companies, and there was always a whole bunch of support people right behind me to help me. And so anytime I needed something, I, figuratively snapped my fingers. I didn't actually snap my fingers, but you know what I mean. Like they made it.
Yep.
They made it work, and I never knew how. So this is me, myself, and I trying to figure all this out. So.
Yep. And I was on the receiving end of that snap fingers, so a lot.
Was a figurative thing. I didn't literally.
I know. Yep. Hey Sandy. Yep. Yep, I was on that receiving end, and so I completely understand that all the time. People are like, man, your name is always, we know you first. So that's awesome. All right. So then we have just, is there, okay, it looks like one other person came on, Ren.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just see if there's any other questions and then we'll dive into our
Sure.
material.
Yeah.
So, Ran or Edith, do you have any tech questions that we can keep in mind today?
No, I'm sorry, is this person speaking about Aweber? Is that the idea?
Mm-mm.
No.
No.
Not particularly that, but
Uh-huh.
covering a lot of other things. So let's just go ahead, Sandy.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay. So do I have share screen? I do. Perfect. Let's do desktop one. Okay. So make sure you can see my slides here, my main slide. And then while I do that, I lost my other slide. There we go. Okay. So today I'm just going to talk about, try to keep it really simple, give you a couple of quick tips that you can use to take and run with today. Like to share that information and let people just give without overwhelming. Hopefully, there's so much I can talk about. And putting the slides together, I thought, oh my gosh, I've only got a little bit of time. I don't have 5 hours, so I can go crazy on everything I talk about. So I'll try to keep it reined in. I love shortcuts, keeping your life easy. Like Sophia said, you just learn so much information. There's so many different tools out there. And, people advertise and promote. They most likely, as do I, have an affiliate link. So you want to promote things, but I want to promote tools that I use and that have saved my clients time and money, because it's saving them the money from having to buy all these extra tools. Just because you hear the latest and greatest product out there doesn't mean you have to jump the ship and go look into it. I spend a good portion of my time, some days and some weeks, with just looking at tools and opportunities that are out there. People ask me, hey, did you hear about this tool? Did you hear about that tool? I'm like, okay, stop looking at tools and let's just get back to business and do the simple things. So we're going to primarily talk about like lead generation, because that's really important, is to generate leads and how you use the tools that we have to generate more leads and close more business, because that's what we really want. Focusing on LinkedIn. I've actually been doing LinkedIn training for 14 years. I started it as a business in 2010, looking for an opportunity because I got laid off in the 2008 issue and was looking for an opportunity, and social media was brand new, and people were asking me, well, how did you set up your profile? And how did you do that? And so that's usually how it kind of evolved. Like a lot of people, they're LinkedIn experts out there, and they created a business for ourselves. I'm just going to talk about other systems that you can use for lead gen, email marketing, like you said, Ren. Not going to necessarily talk about Aweber, but just in general, some email automation programs. You can feel free to take a screenshot of my contact information. There is I have a different booking code, so if this one's just a 30-minute get to know you call appointment, but my email and phone number, and I'll throw that in the chat as well. So finding the right tools is really the biggest thing. There's hundreds of thousands of tools out there. And especially now with AI, I hear, I don't know, at least a dozen or half a dozen of AI tools every day. It's really crazy on how much we do. And we have to really identify what our need is first, and then look at the tool that we need, not just the other way around. A lot of people will look at the tool and say, oh, well, I heard so-and-so talk about that, I should go get it, without even really understanding what it can do for us. So I always say, just research and compare the tools. If you're going to look at a tool, just research it and compare it to what other exists out there, and look at the features and the benefits, but keep it simple and have a plan. What are you going to do with that tool? Are you going to use it? Is it a wish to know? Is it like a hot deal? We're going to come into now the holiday season. It's an amazing deal. Well, yeah, I've done that too. Bought that amazing deal, that lifetime, really low price thing, and it's still sitting on the shelf, right? So I want to try to prevent some of that and save that money. But today I'm just a little focus on LinkedIn. And believe it or not, people just aren't understanding that LinkedIn came around about the same time as Facebook. In 2003, it launched, and where Facebook kind of came in about 2003, 2004. And I still get asked the question, oh, well, what's LinkedIn? I've never even heard of it before. Or, oh, is that brand new? And so it's really interesting that it's been around just as long as Facebook. and way longer than TikTok and Instagram and stuff. So it's really big. It was built for business professionals to connect with other business professionals. And so that's why I really focused on that for building relationships. So then kind of the next question I get is, well, there's only a few people on there. Well, there's 900 plus million plus users worldwide, and 100 and almost 200 million users in the United States alone. So there's lots of opportunity. Yes, you're going to get the occasional person that spams you. It's going to happen. Yes, you're going to get the sales pitch. That's normal life. It's not the norm, which is really, I like about that. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't get at least 1 or 2 or 3 Facebook connection requests from somebody that's looking to spam me or to date me, because that's usually what it is, all about dating. Facebook or LinkedIn is very rare with that happens. If it does, you're probably connecting with the wrong people, that you're attracting the wrong group of people in there. People ask me, so my prospects, clients, all the time, should I get the free or the paid? And I say that use the free platform, because the paid really isn't going to get you that much more if you're not even just using the tool as it is. There's amazing features in the tool, and the biggest thing between the free and the paid is your connection reach. Okay, and what I mean by the connection reach is LinkedIn with the free account allows you to have your first, second, and third degree connections. So Jeanette and I are not, we're just connected now. I think I sent you a connection request. So we're considered first degree connections. And this is just an example of the numbers. So say a person has 288 first level connections. That means that they have approximately 340,000 second degree. So that means that when I'm connected to Jeanette, I then have access to her connections, and they're my second degree. So hopefully you, Sophia, Janet, and Ren are connected to Jeanette, and then that makes you my second degree. Or in the reverse, I'm your second degree connection to you. And then you have the pool of the third degree. So that's how LinkedIn works, is the first, second, third degree. You have a lot of opportunity. If you can't find your opportunities in 350,000 contacts, you're looking for the wrong opportunities and you're connecting with the wrong people. Okay. LinkedIn for the paid premium goes beyond that third degree connection. So I always say, let's just build your first degree connections and start building from there, because you're going to find your right audience. Kind of why LinkedIn, it showcases your online reputation. If you've ever Googled your name, put your name in Google. Your LinkedIn profile most likely will show up on the first page, if not the first or second position on Google. It automatically happens in LinkedIn unless you have a very common name. You may have some competition out there for other people if they have, a really popular TikTok or Instagram or something. But most likely, I find it, and I've tried this a number of times, where people will have their LinkedIn profile will show up on the first position. It generates leads for you and opportunities, but it's really about nurturing professional relationships. We build relationships just like we did in corporate. We shake the hand of people that we know, and we build that relationship. They still say that 80% of business to business, that's what B2B is, business to business social leads come from LinkedIn above any other social media platform. So just a kind of a recap of the LinkedIn, and we won't go into all these details, but I just want to take an inventory, and there's an opportunity to have a strategy call with me at the end. And if you have questions, we can go into deeper dive. But look at your profile. We're not going to talk about the actual profile. It's like having a website or an advanced resume. We're not, looking for a job, so it's not your resume, but think about it as a digital resume, and that it showcases you visually to the world. So you want to have a background image. It's the banner image at the top, and there's opportunities. I create banner images for my clients. And then headshot, you might make sure you have a current headshot or a nice professional headshot on your profile. The headline tells people what you do in a quick sentence or statement. The about section is more with a call to action. You want to describe who your ideal audience is and speak to them and talk to them who they are. You want to speak to that right audience. I had a client I was working with yesterday, and she's like, well, I work with anybody. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not everybody. And she's like, well, I want to help youth, and I want to help the C-suite. I said, well, that's a big different audience. The youth, the 20, 30-year-olds, is a huge difference between the 60, 70-year-olds. So we need to speak to the audience. You can't just speak to everybody. That's too big of a broad range, because a CEO is not going to care what you talk to a 20-year-old in. They want to be spoken to like a 60-year-old. So that just using the verbiage and the wording is really important, narrowing your audience. And I'm sure that you've learned about that from Jeanette before. You want to have a company page on LinkedIn. It's really a placeholder to have your logo on LinkedIn if you have a logo for your business, and that's the only way to have that showcase. And then do current and relevant posts. You want to keep current and have a post at least once a month, if not a couple of times a week. So I kind of go once a month, once a week is better. Maybe once a couple of times a week is even better than that. And then have some current testimonials. And feel free to screenshot any of this. I know it's being recorded. I can send out the slides to you as well. Happy to share that information. And then put anything in the chat too. If you have a quick question, I'll try to look at that. Okay, so then I always look at, it all starts with a conversation. Who here does online networking? Go to a Zoom meeting, it's networking, building relationships. Maybe you go to some in-person, B2B, Chamber of Commerce, anything else in person as well. Network exchanging names and contact information, exchanging business cards, okay? But it all starts with the conversation before introducing yourself and handing out a business card. Just handing your business card to somebody does not mean that they're going to come and buy from you, because they've just collected another handful of business cards from everybody else in the room. And statistically, we don't go to networking events to buy, we go to networking events to sell. And if everybody is there to sell and nobody is there to buy, we need to take it offline and outside of that group and build conversations and have networking events with each other and do one-to-one conversations. So how do you go to that and build those relationships? So it's important to then have a CRM system that will allow you to track those contacts. You can take a look at your business cards and you need to touch people 7 to 10 to 12 times. Meaning that the first conversation, you met them, there's 1. 2 is have a one-to-one call. 3 is, can you send them valuable information, some type of an article that you've written or an article about somebody else. 4, send them something in the mail. 5, pick up the phone. 6, reconnect with them. Somehow just re-engaging with them on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or wherever, okay? Did it go forward? Hold on. My screen didn't forward, why not? Well, that's what. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and let's look at LinkedIn and do some searching. And I know that you've talked about, I got some ideas of some clients that you're looking for, Sophia, and we can just look at that as well. So I always like to look at live LinkedIn versus doing a bunch of screenshots. And it's easier that way, I feel, just to show people live. And because LinkedIn changes things like everybody else, all the other platforms on a regular basis. So basically LinkedIn, do you all have a LinkedIn account? Okay. So I would just certainly, if you don't, just go ahead and, play with LinkedIn, update your profile. You can spend some time doing that. But what I want to talk about is some advanced searching and finding, kind of how to use LinkedIn overall for building relationships. So first of all, we have the news feed, just like we do in Facebook and Instagram. We have our news feed, and this is the information that people are posting that your first level connections. So if you notice that it's a first level, but I'm also seeing that Janice Porter commented on a post. So this is a little different than the other Facebook and the Instagrams. If somebody that you're connected to comments or likes a post, you'll see that in your news feed. So it may not be a first degree connection. Okay. So definitely spend some time daily on LinkedIn, commenting on other people's posts. It's always nice to give first, commenting and helping other people with their content, and look to see what people are doing first before you do that. And this is dancing's driving me nuts. So the next thing that I want to do is look at our current connections, or actually first we're going to do the first level connection. So I just want to show you how to see that. I'm going to connect with Jeanette. And if you notice, she's a second degree connection here. It's got the number 2 seconds. So that means that we haven't connected yet on a one-to-one basis. I have sent her a connection request. Actually, I just realized that I did that this morning. So it's pending. So until she sends me accepts my connection request. And I noticed that you have 6,000 plus followers. That's great. However, until you build relationships, it's not closing you any sales. Okay, you can have 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, but unless you're converting them with your content or building relationships, it's not really doing any good. So then what you want to do is, so definitely send a connection request. I'm going to use Sophia, if you're okay with that, as an example of the options you have.
And actually, I just did the both of you connection request. So you have one out
Got
there
it.
for me.
I will look at that once. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So in here, it says I can accept or ignore. And so then I have also the option to send her a message. So in my network, under my network tab, I can see that information. A lot of times you want to actually send people a connection request with a personal note. It's nice to do that personal note. Let me just find somebody else on LinkedIn here. Okay.
And I just accepted your request, so if you want to
Perfect.
use
Okay.
me again.
Yep, we can do that. Thank you. Finding something that's not a first level. Okay. I just randomly picked this person. She's a second degree connection. So you have choices, and some of this will look different based on the person that you connect with. I can send her a connect. And then in the pop-up, it'll actually say add a note or send without a note. Okay. If you don't know the person, that's great that you, Sophia, totally don't worry about it. That's fine that you did that. But I like to send a note to somebody and say, hi, Lily, we met on XYZ event. Would it be okay to connect? Something really simple, because it reminds them where you met them. So you're really asking, how did we met, or how can I help you? What do you want and who are you? Right? Okay, just put that on in layman's terms, because that's what they're going to ask in reverse. So I go through my network. So these are connections that people have sent me. You can see all. And I get tons of connections. I get event connections and all that too all the time. So this person sent me a message and she says, it was nice to meet you in this platform, Webflow. So I met her earlier this week, or last week, actually, Friday. So she's just reminding me how we met. This person, Melanie, I can either accept it or I can ignore it. I can also just send her a message and say, hi, Melanie, I noticed that you sent me a connection request. How can I help you? Why are you connecting with me? I don't usually do that. I'll usually look at their profile first and just take a look. She has a professional headshot. She has a banner. I wouldn't repeat my name up in a banner because that doesn't tell me anything, because it's right here. You're wasting your real estate space up here. Not to, pick on her or not or anything, but it's just kind of a waste of space. And then that she does a branding. So I like to connect with web designers. So she'd be a perfect referral for me to connect with. She's in the United States, so that's a good thing. And then we also have 5 in common connections. So there's some relationship there. She's just not somebody randomly out on the internet trying to connect with me. So I'll usually then accept it and then send her a message and say, hi, Melanie, thanks for sending me a connection request. I'd like to learn more about you. Find something in her profile that I can talk to. She's talking about branding. Does your website dream? I can just maybe make a joke. My website needs to be, updated. Haha. Or something like, who's your ideal client and how can I help you? Is there anybody I can introduce you to? So start the conversation. Like I said, it's starting the conversation, asking questions, because we like to talk about ourselves. So asking that conversation and starts doing that. Find something you have in common. Maybe it's somebody that you know. Maybe it's, oh, I see that you're connected to Lisa Irestone. If you know her, say, oh, how do you know Lisa? I know her through this, whatever it might be. Okay.
Well, and I just want to add that
yeah.
when you write a little note to asking to connect, people are going to tend to be more likely to connect with you with that, because everybody gets so many requests with no note, and you know that they're just trying to sell you something.
Typically, yep. And if I get a sales pitch, I just sell them back. Hey, thanks for the information. I do this. you know, just doesn't mean you can't, you know, sell them back, right? There's no reason, there's no rule on that. They're just paying to do an automated system and spending their money on that. Because I got 11 outstanding connection requests I haven't responded to. I'm a little bit behind. For this person, I don't need them. Okay. How do you, so first of all, click on your name to go to your profile. On the left-hand side, and you can go down to your 500 plus connections. I can see all my connections. I got almost 5,000 connections. I can search by the name of people, or I can actually even just click on the search box. So maybe if I'm looking for, and this is where it's very important to know who your ideal audience is. And not to pick on you, Sophia, but you said you were looking to work with business professionals for coaching executives. Okay. In there, you didn't say any really keywords. Executive it would be a keyword. So let's just use executive. Okay. Because you have to think about keywords that LinkedIn is going to understand. I work with anyone isn't a keyword. Okay. Anyone that drives a car. Okay, that's just too broad. LinkedIn isn't going to know that we drive a car. Okay. Most likely everybody has a business professional has a car, not necessarily, but it's possible. So I want to kind of narrow down the search. This is where a lot of people don't take LinkedIn to the next level, and they want to search out. So I put an executive. So they have to have the word executive in their profile somewhere. Narrow it down to people. So first step is to look at your current connections and see if you can't build some relationships. You may have connected somebody 3, 4, 5 years ago, and you're like, oh, I don't know who this person is. What are they doing today? Can you send them a message? So I would go first level. So I still have 1,100 executive people that have executive in their current profile. So maybe, you know, I noticed down here executive assistant or executive director. So there's differences between executive assistant and executive director. Okay, if you can kind of see that in here. And then you've got the past was chapter executive. They all mean something different. Executive director and JP Morgan. So that's finance. So you can do executive. Let's just do director. So now it's 704. So it narrows down that search. Still not going to want to go through 700 people. So I'm going to start with my immediate area. I live in the greater Minneapolis area. So try to pick that greater area. So now I have 400. So hopefully you're networking with people maybe in your current area, but if you're expanding. So I have 452 people that I can say, send a message. Hi, Kirsten, how are things going? I came across your, profile on LinkedIn. I know that we've been connected for a couple of years. Just checking in and seeing how things are going for you. What are you doing this year? Or how are you enjoying the fall? Or what's your fourth quarter goals? Ask him a question that you can start a conversation. Because she's the first level, I can send them all messages. I can, if I don't want to stay into the greater Minneapolis area, I do a lot of networking. I have a group in Arizona. So maybe I just do Arizona area. I have 22 that have the word executive director in their profile. There is a difference in LinkedIn because executive director is 2 different words. So it puts it in. So if you notice here, Jacqueline has director USA. So that doesn't mean that she's an executive director. It just puts the word separated within their profile. To treat it as one phrase, put it in quote marks. Okay. So now I only have 6 that actually have the word executive director. They have to have both of the words preferably next to each other. Doesn't always work sometimes. Yeah, most of the time it does. So Jacob, somewhere in her profile, she's got the word executive director in there. So now it narrowed it down to only 6 people. There is a difference between like VP. So I can do or vice vice president. So people might say that they're VP, but they might also say that they're vice president. So kind of treat them as different words and put the word O or OR in capitals, so then it kind of refers to it has to be in their profile. That help? Kind of narrowing down. So this is my first level. So if I want to build out to people that I don't know, I would want to go then to the second degree. I'm going to uncheck the first. So now this is my second degree and I have 6,000. That's a lot to go through. Okay. So you want to find something else that you can, how you can narrow that down. Maybe it's be a little bit more specific and go, I could click on the, well, that would be companies and I would need to know their company. You could do, whoops, that's not what I wanted. You know, so first look through your pile of business cards that you have on your computer or on your desk, and then look through some of the Zoom chat files and start finding connections that you've met recently on some of the networking events that you've been on. Okay, put their names in there. If I was in a networking event with somebody in particular, I can click on all filters and let's see, down here it shows you connections of, and I go to a networking group that Frank Agent leads. So if I'm assuming that people that are in his networking group, they are connected to him. So I'm going to show the results for that. So now I have 6 people that are vice presidents that are also connected to Frank. So it kind of just helps you narrow down your searching and having something in common. We can look at like a different keyword. I had some other keywords I wrote down.
Well, and Sandy, you could also use the names of influencers in your target
Yes.
and
Yep.
see who their connections are, because it's going to be your same target market.
So the same thing, you don't have to be connected to the person to do that. Oops, let's just go back here. Let's use a different term. I'll just say business coaches are your target market. It's interesting that Frank doesn't have anybody. So I've got, oh, that's why it's Arizona. Let's go United States, not get rid of Arizona. There's 6,400 people that have business coach. And then I can click on all filters and say, maybe I want to connect with an influencer. So typically influencers, and I would use, that's a great point, but there's a difference between connections of versus followers of. If it's an influencer that's in your same sphere or that would follow somebody else. So I'm just going to use Jenna Kutcher. She's a big influencer. People are going to tend to follow her versus connect with her because she's probably got over 10,000 first level connections, most likely. So now I have 98 people that are following Jenna because she's, maybe Jenna, my ideal client, also follows Jenna Kutcher. And so I can find them this way. Certainly look at their profile and learn more about them. In the connection, you can send a note and say, hi, Abby, I'm looking to connect with business coaches. Would I learn more about you? Would it be okay to connect? You can only send 10 notes to people a month. They limited it recently to 10 a month. There was talk that they were going to change that, and I haven't heard if it has changed or not. So it makes it very hard to do. So you want to be very focused in on your messaging and your connections. Okay. The last place I want to show you for LinkedIn to build relationships is groups. LinkedIn groups aren't necessarily active anymore, but there's still a lot of value in groups. I'm just going to put women, assuming that your target market is women, and you get groups. You have to have the keyword has to be in the title of the networking group. or of the, not necessarily networking group, but of the group to find them. You can then join a group. So maybe I want to join women photography. So maybe your ideal clients are women in photography. I would join that group. Look at their rules and say, you know, women only, for women amateurs and professionals interested in photography. Definitely meet their qualifications before you join a group and follow their rules. Once you do that, I can go into the group, and this one has 8,000 members, and I can see all connections, and I can go through the list and I can message them. So notice that Dr. Delio, I don't know how that pronounced that. She's a 3rd level. She probably would never show up in my LinkedIn search, but I can now, because I have something in common, we're both in the women networking group, I can message her for free with LinkedIn. Hi, doctor. You know, I noticed that we're both in the networking group. Just wanting to learn more about people that are in this group. Would it be okay to connect? To connect, you would have to go to their profile and send them a connection request.
Now, just to clarify, you said
Yep.
10 connection requests a month, not messages.
10 connection requests a month with the message. So if you notice that you've got the connection request with a note.
Okay.
I can do without a note. That's why you're seeing a lot more without notes. Well,
Okay.
I've always seen a lot without notes. People don't know how to send notes. They just didn't know it existed.
Right.
Yeah.
And then is there a limit as to how many messages you can send?
Not really. It's usually about 100. They don't want you to be copy pasting really quickly though, because it'll look like it's an automated system.
Yes, and they don't like those.
Nope, LinkedIn does not like automated systems. I do not advocate for them because I think it's about building relationships. So there's a lot of opportunities to build people that you don't need to automate. Get to know people, learn about who they are. Okay. So with that, then, how are you going to track all these people, these contacts? I wish this tool existed many years ago, but it didn't. And so I had to kind of backtrack. So I am now going through my connections and using a couple of different tools that you can use. I'll show you quick tools. One, so we talk about CRMs. I'm going to go back to my Canvas slide here a second. And quit that a second. I'm going to use the full screen of Canva and not worry about that. All right. So there are so many tools out there: MailerLite, HubSpot, ActiveCampaign, Aweber, Keep, Pipedrive. You know, there's many, many, many more out there. These tend to be more email marketing platforms versus a CRM, a customer relationship management system. I look at also systems that are lead management, because CRM is customer. They're not customers yet. My 5,000 LinkedIn contacts are not a customer, but she's a lead or opportunity. How am I going to track and keep track of who she is? Who's Jeanette? One, I can copy her name and put it into an Excel spreadsheet. You can keep things really simple. That's a great way to do it. I don't like having to copy and paste because it's a lot of work and it doesn't bring me, it's just a lot. It can be a lot of work, but it's where I started quite a few years ago, was some Excel spreadsheets. And I've got clients that start with that, and that worked for them great. Create an Excel spreadsheet, first name, last name, where you met them, when did you last connect with them, create a column across, and just, when did you last touch with them? When should I connect them again? Take some notes about them. Or you can use, oh, I know what I did. I disconnected it. Turned it off. I forgot that I turned it off. There's one program I really like. It's called GetDex. And let me throw that in. I'm just going to quickly throw all this information in chat in one little thing here. I'm going to talk about all of it. My information, GetDex, Get Magical. Let's see if you can see the chat. We'll talk about this stuff. So I'm going to go back. What GetDex is it's a Google Chrome extension. So Google has extensions that add on to the functionality of Google Chrome. And this allows me to add one of my LinkedIn contacts and sorts out my contacts. On the left-hand side, I can find out who my connections are. So I mentioned that Frank group. I've met 27 connections on LinkedIn that are in this group, and I can tag them through GetDex program. This one has a free version, and then it also has a $20 a month. The $20 a month allows me to connect in with my Gmail account, and it's well worth it. For me, it's been really worth it, and I use it all the time. So I have these people organized and who they are. And then I can find out who they are, it connects up with their information, and I have all of them in these groups. So I reconnected with her in August 2024. I asked her to do a survey. And then I'll have it, and that way I can go back and say, oh, who did I reconnect with in August? It's now 2-3 months later. I'll reconnect with them again. Because I can't remember who I connected with 3 months ago. Because it takes 7 to 10 times to touch somebody before they know to build relationships, to build referrals. Okay, that's one program I like to look at. I just want to give you options. The other program I've just started looking into is called, that one, Add to Folk, F-O-L-K. It's a newer program. So GetDex kind of works the same thing where it pops up within Google Chrome and I can say add to group. Here. So it'll pull all of your information over to that program. And I can select group, networking. I'm just going to put networking, general.
So what does it mean by groups?
So groups, then that way it's like kind of like tagging your contacts. I can, but I know speaking, I can tag people that I spoke at their networking group, or if I met them at Frank Agent's group or a BNI group or whatever networking group, I can sort all the contacts by that networking group. So think about it as a tag, like I did in the GetDex program. Over here on the left-hand side, I've created all of these groups. So I have a conference that I went to. I've got 6 people that I connected with in that group. And I can tag them based off of their interests as well. Then this person's interested in learning more about LinkedIn, or this person's interested in more about lead generation, or this person's interested in a webinar that I provide. Now I have my list of contacts that I can go back to and invite them to an event. Make sense? Okay. So
this can be used for not only for potential prospects or clients, but also potential referral partners.
Yes. So I think I have a referral partner. Yep. I haven't built that out very much. My one that I do is the EBN. This is a current active group that I'm in, networking. And so I'm building them, and then I'm tagging them and taking notes of the referral partners. So Stephanie would get tagged as a referral partner. She's a good referral partner with me, or a power partner. So there's 2 different things you can do, tags and groups. So we won't talk about all the ins and outs. This could be a whole nother class talking about these programs. So, and then that's where it's nice to kind of separate that. You don't want to add everybody that you meet, all of your pilot business cards, into your HubSpot or MailerLite or Aweber account, because they haven't asked to subscribe to your list, to get on your newsletter. Okay. And that's why the difference between these, HubSpot does have a CRM. Keep has a CRM. It's kind of like they're separate entities. But so think about that as interested in there. From a cost standpoint, I just felt it was easier to use the GetDex or Folk, because they just were more cost effective and they worked right with LinkedIn. Okay. Last little tool that this is going to save you, and this is probably be the one that you will take off and say, oh my gosh, we're going to use this one today. It's called Magical, and it's very magical. So I'm, going to connect with Jeanette. We did this before a couple months ago when we did first meet, but I would say, hi, great to connect. Okay, my next thing is, let's set up a virtual get to know you call. I would then have to go out and get my link to my calendar and type a phrase, here's a link to my calendar, right? How many times a day do you do that? Do you put in something in LinkedIn or Facebook or email? Here's a link to my calendar, right? We constantly do that, or other phrases. I can just type exclamation calendar, and it fills that information in there for me, my link and my sentence. To keep things simple, here's a link to my calendar, right? It automatically filled it in. Get Magical, and I put the link in the chat, does that for you. I program the little code. So if I create a new one, autofill, I don't want that. I don't want to, what am I doing here? They've changed their things so much. Here we go. Create, the trigger is, so it's a code. And I would say maybe JK for Jeanette's group. So I might maybe send something to you guys. So just whatever the code is, hi, first name, great to meet you on Jeanette's group call today. Let's connect for coffee, Sandy, for a virtual coffee chat. Now I don't have to retype that. I just have to type the exclamation JK and it'll fill in this information for me. I click save. So I'm basically programming it what I want it to do. And then in any program on the internet, on in your Google Chrome, so your Gmail, your LinkedIn, your Facebook, Instagram messengers, any place that has that, you can type that information. I'm just going to remove this and do JK, exclamation, because I'm actually on her profile. It'll fill in her first name and then put that information in there. Magical. I always like to say it's magical because it really saves you so much time. So if I'm repeating the same thing over and over again, I'm not having to retype it.
That's a great tool.
Yeah. That is the one that people usually are like, oh my gosh, I need to sign that. That one's amazing. Okay. So we're running out of time here at the end. Does anybody have, we won't need to send that to her, leave. Sorry if you do get a message from me, a weird one.
No problem.
And that always happens to me. I send somebody something really weird. They're like, what? So, okay. So that's what I always like to do. So basically it's a shortcut that you repeat over the course of time and it works forever. And I've been using a version of that. They renamed it a couple years ago, but I've been using it for 10, 15 years already. I don't even know. All right. So following up with your contacts is you've got the money, your network is your net worth, your money. So that's where it's always good to build the connections. Look at your current contacts. We've got so much money in our current contacts that we already have. Look at the people you've met in the last year or two and revisit their contacts. Hey, how's it going? My life has changed just as much as yours, right? They have. Your life has changed and evolved or whatever. And then you can go ahead and change that. So just ask them how they're doing. But think about the flow. So there's always, when you're looking at lead management and customer management, it's about building the awareness of who you are. And then they want a consideration about doing business with you. They'll purchase, they become loyal, and then they become advocates of your business. So you want to map out the flow of how you build those from business cards to advocacy. Just because they're not interested in buying from you, because maybe they don't need executive coaching, but they can become advocates of your work. And the more you stay in touch with them, we don't know what we teach. I can teach so many different platforms, but until people know me, they don't know that I can do all those platforms. So I work with clients on a creating a cycle. This is just an example. You meet them in person or online. You connect with them on LinkedIn, send them a message, ask them if they want to join your newsletter or a lead magnet, invite to a webinar maybe, check back, follow up and connect, follow their comments and stuff and comment on their posts, and then keep doing it to build those relationships. We talked about keep a Excel spreadsheet or a Google sheet, get decks and folks for the 2 programs I mentioned. All right. So last questions, people ask me about sales and marketing automation, systems, setup, and maintenance. If you're not sure what program to choose, if you already have a system, Aweber, MailChimp, MailerLite, I can work in those systems, or we find you the right fit platform. If you have questions about lead follow-up, appointment bookings, automation, email sequences, and more, even Canva, I do a lot of Canva designing and teaching in there. I'm certainly here to answer questions. Does anybody have any specific questions of what I talked about today?
Well, I'd just like to say that one thing that you can help people with, if they take you up on your free consultation, is what tools they need versus tools that they're considering that have way too many features that they're never going to use. So, in other words, how to save money by only getting tools that you need.
Yep. And each person is going to be a little bit differently, but we can certainly talk about that. And I'll give you a link to my free consultation. Somebody that, and it's about skill set too, of what you need versus what you want. I'll put this up here first. This is a book a free call. It's a 45 minutes. I just call it a lead generation audit, but we can talk about tech and compare systems. I can put, connect with Sandy, I guess, for a free audit. But go ahead and, screenshot that or save the chat. Did I put in there?
It's in the chat.
It is in the 45-minute. Okay, cool. Otherwise, I do have, what was that?
Well, that's a great title because, as Sophia said in the beginning, that's really what everyone is looking for is lead generation.
Yep. Lead generation. And it involves all the tools that are involved. And yeah, it kind of encompasses so many things. But so if you still have a lot of questions and you're just, learning and sponging yourself and just like, okay, I'm ready to dive in, Microsoft Word, Excel, Canva, these tasks are overwhelming on a daily basis. CRM systems, in and out of your programs. What do I do next? Now I have a lead magnet. Now what do I do? There's just so many hundreds of questions that I get. So I created a Digital Connect program. It's a weekly office hours from 9 to 10:30 Central. And then it's personalized support. It's a group session, but you get, come on my call. I can ask you a question, get you into your next direction. It's always a great I have some people that do it just for their time to get the things done. It's regularly, the value is $150 a month, but for when I speak, I do it for $95. So it's $55 off if you use code IAP Digital. And that link is in the chat as well if you want to just go to the link. But don't forget to use the IAP chats or IAP Digital code for the $55 off. So kind of 2 options. You get the lead gen audit, or then if you're ready to just jump in right now, we can do that too.
Yeah, and I don't see the code in the chat.
The last one, the code, I didn't put the code, sorry. Use code IAP Digital, because it is capital, or the Digital Connect office hours.
And
Okay.
by the way, just a technical tip, I've noticed that Zoom doesn't always save everything in the chat, so you might want to copy and paste all those links there just to make sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it has to be at the end, and I'll send them to you too, and you can send them out to who's here. Yep. Perfect. I know I threw a lot at you, so what are you going to do when you right off the call? What's your first takeaway that you're going to take action on?
Look into both of those tools because they're both very interesting. Decks and Magical. I'm going to go fuddle around with both of them and see
Yep.
which one
Take
might
a look. Yeah. They're both very valuable, the informations, and they both have free levels. Yep. Good. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me come and join and giving you a few tips. Hopefully you got a couple of tips, takeaways, and I know there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you.
Yes, well, thank you for joining us, and thank you, Sandy, for giving this presentation. And for those listening to the recording, take advantage of these tools and the opportunity to have your own tech support expert on your team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we definitely need financial person and your bookkeeper, accountant, and your tech support.
And also this, the Digital Connect office hours, one thing I was noticing is that a lot of times your tech questions come up pretty immediately. And so if once a week you have a chance to get them answered, then you don't have to wait, for your webmaster or some other tech person to get around to you.
Yep.
You can, get that question answered sooner rather than later.
Yep.
So again, thank you, Sandy.
You're welcome.
For what you're offering.
You're welcome. All right. Thanks a lot. Take care.